Everyone, I'm Leah.
I'm Cameron.
Welcome back to our channel. We're going to be talking about lactose intolerance today and the science behind it.
About 9,000 years ago, Homo sapiens in Africa consumed milk before we could even digest it. Famine and disease are likely the main cause for lactose intolerance nowadays.
Alright, so Cameron here is going to take a bite of some string cheese, and then then we're gonna go into talking about the certain symptoms associated with lactose intolerance. These can include like nausea and bloating. And did you want to talk about the enzyme here?
This lactose intolerance is caused by the lack of the lactase enzyme, which is used by the body to break down the sugar in lactose. As a baby, this enzyme is more prevalent, but as you grow up, it becomes less prevalent, making it harder to break down the sugar and lactose.
Okay, so with this diagram here, on the left side, this is a picture of normal lactose digestion. So the lactose is digested and there are lactase enzymes that help to break that lactose down into glucose and galactose. So that's not going to give you the same symptoms as someone who's lactose intolerant, which is shown on the right side here. So lactose gets digested, but then there's not that enzyme to help break the lactose down. So water easily can get into the digestive system, which then creates like bacteria, and that bacteria then causes those symptoms that are associated with lactose intolerance, like bloating and gas and just nausea. So fermented dairy products, such as the cheese here, it actually doesn't have as much lactose in it than like milk would. Same with yogurt. So eating these might produce like less symptoms. There are also like certain medications like Lactaid, which helps by splitting apart the lactase. This is just a temporary relief, though. It's meant to just be taken before you eat dairy.
Lactose intolerance depends on variants in the regulatory element of the MCM6 gene inherited by your parents. It is more common to be lactose intolerant than it is to be able to digest dairy in the US. In Europe, there was a mutation where people could digest milk more.
So this is our map we found on different countries and lactose intolerance, and the darker countries indicate higher populations of lactose intolerance, and the lighter colors are less lactose intolerance.
And now we're gonna talk about vitamin D and how that has been added to most dairy products in certain countries. So the lack of vitamin D consumption in certain areas where sunlight is not common can cause a deficiency in having this important vitamin. Vitamin D really helps strengthen bones and prevents osteoporosis. There was a rickets epidemic in the 19th century, and so vitamin D was voted to be added into dairy products, especially milk, since it's very popular. And so some countries to this day still have those regulations in place, such as Finland, Norway, Canada, Sweden, and the US. Other countries also follow these regulations, but they're not required to be added to dairy products.
Rickets is the result of the lack of vitamin D or calcium. So someone who is lactose intolerant likely won't drink as much milk, which means they won't have as much vitamin D or calcium. Rickets is essentially just having weaker bones, specifically in children. Another disease seen with a correlation of a lack of vitamin D is multiple sclerosis, which is why it's more prevalent here where we live in the Pacific Northwest, because we get less natural vitamin D, which is in the sun.
According to NIH, the recommended intake for vitamin D for adults 19 to 70 is 600 IU per day. So there are certain foods that already have this vitamin naturally in them. We have a chart that will show lots of...
As you can see, the fish are going to have more vitamin D naturally, and the milk will have less.
Lots of fish products such as tuna and mackerel have high doses of vitamin D, and that is why taking fish oil supplements is pretty beneficial to get those omega-3s as well. So when you add vitamin D to certain products, that's called fortification. There are brands of cereal in the US that fortify their cereals, but they can only go up to 100 IU. And I read recently that General Mills, the company that makes Cheerios, Lucky Charms, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, they just doubled their amount of vitamin D that they put in their cereal to help reduce the risk of rickets, and having that fortification in the cereal also helps, because if you need to use like a dairy alternative for the milk, then you're not getting those good vitamins for you. And so there are also, so alternatives to dairy, like milk. There's lactose-free milk, there's oat milk, soy, almond. These don't have lactose in them, so it makes it a lot easier to digest. I did learn that other animal milk, such as sheep and goat's milk, have just lower levels of lactose in them. Okay, that is the end of our video. We hope that you found this information helpful, and
See you next time.
yeah, catch you later.